There was Cam Brown in front, going for the rebound, and Brown gets more confident as each shift goes along. He might be the best kicker on the ice.
The strategy just not working, Jim. The idea was to get on the rebounds. There just aren't any from Belfour. Diddick let a shot go. Belfour took it high in the chest and dropped off.
Oh, we got a fight going on now. Brown and Peluso. Brown and Peluso are fighting it out, so Cam Brown's debut in the league becomes a fist fight with this big kid who's the tough guy in the Hawk lineup. And now they're separated by the linesman. It was hard to see if there were any scoring punches in there. Peluso is big. I mean, this kid is 6'4", 200 plus. But Cam Brown answered the bell and is now skating to the dressing room with 4:59 left. He's through for the night. But the kid from Brandon can be proud of his initial NHL game.
Did a good job, and we'll undoubtedly see more.
What's going on, everybody? This is Sean Johnson from Benchmire Hockey, and welcome to episode number 2 of our series. And today I am with Cam Brown, who played for and coached the Baton Rouge Kingfish. Cam, thank you very much for coming on and talking to me today.
My pleasure, Sean. Nice to meet you and nice to get to know you.
Absolutely. So before we get into your career, or I should say, we'll say Baton Rouge time, how did your career start?
Well, I finished playing junior hockey up in Canada for the Brandon Wheat Kings in 89, I guess. In the spring of 89, I got signed by the Vancouver Canucks to a free agent contract, a 2-year deal plus an option, and got sent down to the following fall after not making the big club. Got sent down to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to the ECHL Milwaukee Admirals, and started playing there, and spent that year with them, and got called up in March of that year to Vancouver for a 1-game stint against the Chicago Blackhawks, and then sent back to Milwaukee and started the next season in Milwaukee again. Did not make the Vancouver team that year, and that continued what turned out to be a few years in the IHL, and then the following couple of years down to the ECHL.
Okay. And, I was looking up your game in the NHL, and I got to say, it was a pretty impressive fight against Mike Peluso there.
I did get an awful lot of ice time because we were getting smoked. I think the final score was 8-0, and the first couple periods you'd get a couple shifts here and there, but once the score started going lopsided, I was, I guess, Mr. Quinn, Pat Quinn, was the coach at the time on the bench, and I think he must have said, well, let's see what this kid can do, type of thing. So I was a regular shift throughout the third period, and was able to talk Mike Peluso into getting into a fight, and did okay with it. Wasn't a beat down by any means from either side, but I was able to escape the game with 7 minutes and no minus on an 8-0 game. So that was something I can look back on.
Yeah, that's not too bad for the score sheet.
Yeah, that's right.
And did you know Mike prior to that fight?
I did not know. He had never been through the IHL when I was there, and he was from Ontario, so I didn't see him playing junior. So no, I had never ran across him. I did know a couple guys on that team and thought about trying to make my way onto the game sheet by talking one of them into it, but wasn't able to in the first couple of periods.
I see. And I'm just kind of curious, as a fan, what was that energy like in the arena during the fight or after the fight?
Oh my God. I mean, that whole arena, I'm sure you've heard the stories of the old Chicago Blackhawks Stadium. This was before they're playing where they're currently playing, but it was the national anthem. And I've been told this before by a couple of the vets on the team that knew me from a couple training camps. Said, just make sure you check yourself at the start. And I mean, there was, what did they hold, 18.5 or 19,000, and they all are making noise throughout the anthem. It was amazing. It was loud, and of course, as they scored every couple of goals, it got louder and louder. But the fight itself, you don't ever hear what's happening outside of the fight. I mean, it was just once we got connected to where we were going. I don't remember the noise, but I remember, getting sent off. I think there was a minute and a half or 3 minutes left in the game when I took the exit after the fight rather than going to the penalty box. So it was memorable that way. Just thinking about walking down the steps and hearing the noise of the crowd.
That's awesome to hear something like that. You're actually the first NHL alum I've ever talked to. So
Oh, really?
yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to be that for you.
I
Wish
appreciate
I'd
it.
had a few more games to tell you about.
Hey, one is still more than a lot of people have,
Oh, that's right.
considering we're a single A hockey club or group, I should say. Not many of our single A guys make it that far, but I think was it Scott Darling? I think is the only one to ever do it. I'll have to look into that. I will fact check myself later on, but I believe he's the only one. So let's go to Baton Rouge real quick. So I know we were just speaking off the air a moment ago about Baton Rouge hockey and how the Federal Prospects Hockey League is bringing a new team into the league, and they're going to place it in Baton Rouge. We're basically trying to get fans excited about hockey coming back to Baton Rouge, and I actually did a poll, and 83% of the people that answered said that you were the fan favorite. How does that make you feel?
Oh, that's pretty nice to hear. Like I said, I was not a big name goal scorer or point getter, so I guess that tells me that either I was there longer than anybody else, or the fans don't remember the guys that were there for a minute and then called up to higher levels with their skill and their abilities to go farther. But I mean, I was there for a long time. I was the captain coming in my first year. Then I was a couple of years as a player assistant coach down there. I mean, I spent 6 years playing there and then ended up retiring there, and got behind the bench for that last year to see if we could get it back alive. And we just couldn't get the numbers to keep the business running in the proper way. So when the team folded, I packed up from there and moved on. But it was I mean, pardon my language, but I can't even talk about Baton Rouge without saying what a great town it was. I mean, it was a big part of my life. 7 years there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was looking into that. I did see you played for 6 years there, and you coached there for 1 year. Um, Now I wasn't, I was a young kid, so I don't remember any of this. But the Erie Panthers, which you played for 2 years, they relocated to Baton Rouge, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we packed up the team, the ownership when I came back from Europe. I mean, I don't need to go into the whole career, but after the Milwaukee years, I went to Europe for a year, spent a year, half a year in the coast with a couple teams, and when I got traded to Erie, loved the ownership. Ron Hansis was a great guy, was a head coach, and that ownership asked me to come back after I came back from the Czech Republic the next year, and we came back and played a couple of years in a row there in Erie. And when he told me, he and the guy he had coaching for him then said, "Yeah, we're selling the franchise, or we're moving the franchise." And I was like, "What do you mean moving? How do you move a franchise?" "Well, we're packing up and moving to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and if you want to stay on at the end of this year, I'll pay you for a couple of weeks to help us move the equipment, the paraphernalia, whatever you have, pack up the locker room, and head down there." And he rented a semi trailer, came in, we loaded up everything that was owned by the team out of the locker room in Erie, or the dressing room in Erie, and headed down to Baton Rouge and followed in a van and set it all up down there in the Riverside Centralplex is what they call the building. And that was our first exposure to the South, my first exposure to the South, and the whole organizations to Baton Rouge. And we spent a couple days there just basically walking around, going around club, not clubbing, but going to restaurants and places and trying to get the word out. And of course, the whole off ice management stayed down there and stayed and started marketing and doing whatever. I got myself back to Erie and jumped in a truck and headed home to Saskatchewan for a couple of weeks. And they asked me to come back down in June or July, I guess, to start a grassroots marketing program by going out to they rented or bought a bunch of little equipment, shin pads and uh, gloves and helmets to put kids on, asphalt, asphalt kids clubs, summer camps, and that sort of thing. That's what I did for my off season pay, and they got it through the league because I was considered a player assistant coach up in Erie. They could pay me that way, and basically me and the trainer, Patrick Laughlin, was a athletic therapist. He and I would load up a pickup truck, take all this gear to whichever place was scheduled 5 days a week for about 6 hours a day. And I'm telling you, this is July and August in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for a kid from Saskatchewan, and Trick was from Erie, Pennsylvania. The summer was, I mean, on top of black asphalt. For these kids were loving it. They were playing, basically just playing street hockey on tennis courts and sort of thing. But the parents would be sitting around watching and getting involved, and I think it really did a good job for minimal cost. I mean, paying me and him and the equipment bought. We were doing, and the news crews would come out and film it a couple times about the excitement of Baton Rouge. The team had just been named the Kingfish, and we were doing the marketing and letting kids understand or see the basics of hockey and kind of getting. I mean, this is a football loving town that they knew baseball and football, but hockey was something new to everybody, right? We did that for 2 months, and it was an awesome way to get to know that. Had weekends off, evenings off, and had to get home for a cold shower after those days, but it was
That summer heat.
yeah, exactly. It was a wonderful way to get to know a city. Get to know people that maybe they all made it out to the games, maybe some of them did, but I think that's a big part of why it meant so much to me, being there prior to it ever kicking off for real.
So I'm just assuming that it kind of took right off from there. Like people were buying in to the whole hockey thing, or did it take some time?
No, no, no. Well, the season before that, the Lafayette Ice Gators or Louisiana Ice Gators kicked off in the ECHL, and they sold out their Cajun Dome um, to like 9,000, 10,000 a game for the whole season prior. So there was already Southern Louisiana or excitement about hockey, but with our summer of getting people aware of us coming into town, um, we had I want to say I think we our capacity was 8,000 at the Centroplex. I think we had 7,400 or something like that at the home opener, and um, we kicked it off, and the fans stayed around for that year. And we were, when I tell you, god awful. We were horrible. Like, we didn't make the playoffs. We didn't do anything good that year, and I don't want to get into any mean mouthing, but there was some issues with some different things. But good bunch of guys and really good in the community, and we really did well as far as attendance wise.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect being early, mid '90s, I guess. So that's why I asked that about the hockey popularity down there at that time.
Well, the Ice Gators went on to have, I want to say, they were still playing while I was up here in Gwinnett. When I finished my career up, they were still a franchise there. They weren't getting the 10,000 anymore. The fad of because they played a real rough style of game. They had 6 or so heavyweight fighters. There was, when the Ice Gators came to town, we always sold out because there was only an hour away from Lafayette. When we played there,
Right, that was the main rivalry at that time.
that while it wasn't a rivalry in the true sense, because they went on to be in the championships a couple of years in a row, but as far as the fans getting involved, yes, and we did win the first. We had in the something called the Atchafalaya Cup, which is the basin between Lafayette and Baton Rouge. There was a Budweiser sponsored competition between our two teams, and we ended up winning that series. And I still don't know how, because they were such a successful team that year. But we ended up winning it and got to take pictures with that cup. But as far as a league-wide rivalry, it didn't go any further than just the two teams.
Oh. And let me bring that back real quick to the 6 seasons in Baton Rouge. It's hard to spend a couple years in one city, but you spent 7 in one city. What made you want to keep coming back?
The people. There was no leaving there. When I got there, I got down there. I think it was in my 26-year-old season, right after the stint up in Erie, which was 2 years in Erie as well. I mean, the organization was wonderful. Ron Hansis and his family and the ownership group were great. They treated me really well. And as I said, I wasn't someone leading the team in scoring. I was just kind of kept around because I was effective enough. I was a decent leader, I guess. Or maybe not, because we never won. But I mean, I didn't stir up anything. I protected everybody and made sure that nobody was getting away with free shots on our skilled young kids that were trying to move on to the next level type of thing. But the city itself, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in the South, but you go for an LSU football game one time and you'll see what the fan support is like, the food. I mean, I was single. I ended up meeting my kid's mother down there. I mean, I was there to move in. And when I moved in, I bought a house, bought a motorcycle. Once I had a garage, I mean, I was there. And then I spent the whole year there. I was there year round and had summer jobs down there. The people were amazing. They really are. They still are. I go back and visit, and they're wonderful.
Do you still keep in contact with players that you had played with in Baton Rouge as well?
Through social media, yeah. I didn't have social media obviously back then through then, but when I got a Facebook or whatever back in the 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there, guys started contacting me, and I do stay in touch with guys that or get in touch with guys that I played with in Baton Rouge. Yeah.
And another question I had for you actually is, I saw that your number 44 was retired by Baton Rouge. Does your jersey hang in did they take that to Victoria, or where is that now?
I have not been back in the Centralplex since the last game I coached there. They did retire my jersey. My last game playing, as I said, we didn't make playoffs, so there was no expectation of another game. We had closed the doors. The ownership had not yet sold the team, but we're in the market to move it around or to find out who would be interested in it. So my last game playing, they hung it up and retired it, put it in the stands, and then the next year when I coached, it was hanging throughout that year. But that coaching year was pretty atrocious too. And then they moved it on from there. But no, it did. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if I don't know if the banner came down. It must have. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be hanging. No, it wouldn't be hanging there anymore, I'm sure.
I was just kind of curious. I mean, I just didn't know if you had seen it since or not. And after your season of coaching in Baton Rouge, what exactly transpired? I know that the team, packed up and went to Victoria. Were you offered a position there, or?
I was not. I never heard anything from the new ownership group. I was looking at joining the sheriff's office in East Baton Rouge Parish because I had some good friends that were a part of the police force there, and was in the process of going through the steps to be hired on there when I got contacted by the Gwinnett Gladiators, who at that time were the mobile Mystics that had moved up here into Atlanta, and they contacted me and asked if I thought I could play again, and my response was, "Well, older and fat and had just finished coaching an awful season. And they said, well, if you can get ready for camp, we'd love to have you. So I came up that spring to visit with these guys up here in Atlanta and ended up playing here for 3 more years. And they were probably the best seasons of my career as far as success as a team. We went to the playoffs every year and made it to the ECHL championship my last year and ended up losing. But yeah, no, and I've stayed here ever since. My kids were in school at that point. So
Okay, and that's where you're currently located as well?
yes, sir. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask also, I saw that you were inducted into the ECHL Hall of Fame in 2010. What was that like?
That was a pretty special occasion. Again, just a case of sticking around long enough and being effective enough to have a position. When they contacted me, told me actually I'd stopped playing. I was a I was assistant coach here with the Gwinnett team, the Gladiators, and my GM called me and said that I had been inducted or voted in as being in the Hall of Fame, and that we'd be going, whatever these dates were and stuff like that, and have something ready to say. And I, as you can tell, I'm not the best speaker. Speaking in front of the whole league executives and all these young all-star players, which I'd never been to an all-star game as a player, so didn't know what this was all about. But it was pretty special. Yeah, it was pretty nice to be recognized for putting in the hours.
Right, absolutely. And just for the fans that don't know, I looked these numbers up myself. When you retired, you had played the most regular season games in ECHL history with 789.
Right.
And also at the time you retired, you had the most penalty minutes with 2,425. Since then, those records have been broken, but still at the time very impressive. Still impressive.
Well, thank you. It was fun watching. It was watching a former teammate, Sam Fatorik, who was a good friend of mine and a good teammate here with Gwinnett. He stuck around. He was a little bit younger than me and stuck around for a few years. And watching him be the guy that passed my games played was okay. Okay to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And the penalty minutes thing, I didn't think was ever going to get broken because no one in my role usually stuck around that long. But I did hear that it was passed a couple of years ago. I didn't know that.
Yeah, by Garrett Hunt.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but good for him, and hopefully he's still well and going on.
I did ask some Bench Minor Hockey followers if they had any questions for you, so I do want to ask you those real quick before I forget. Mitchell Griggs wants to know that if you were presented the opportunity, would you be interested in coaching the new team in Baton Rouge if it were offered to you?
You know what? I would not. I'm in a position here that's very very good job wise, that I don't think they were going to pay that, any hockey team in the minor leagues is going to, make that kind of offer financially. I have not been involved in the game since I stopped playing. I do some appearances here and there and some friend stuff with the Gladiators, but I don't even get a chance to watch much TV hockey other than pulling it up on the internet during playoff time. NHL hockey, the ECHL or any other levels. I do go to the odd Georgia game up here at the club hockey level because a good friend of mine's son plays for them. But I'm out of the hockey loop and wouldn't even know how to put together a team anymore. So no, I probably would not unless they made it that
Okay.
enticing that my wife and I would be interested in it. But
Well, that's good to know. I know you're probably breaking some hearts there in Baton Rouge, but I'm sure they'll be all right.
well, they got to remember my last year there when I coached, we only had 23 wins in 64 games. So I don't think that I'm the right guy for the job.
Going back to that coaching record, I understand you didn't have, much success that year, but have you ever thought about going back and trying it again? I mean, I know it was only 1 year, so.
You know what's weird is I remember telling a friend of mine that following summer back home when I'd gone up for Canada, I said, as much fun as I had that year with a 23 win coaching record, I could do this for the rest of my life. Like if you were having success and being 500 or above, or having the success we had here in Gwinnett, I know I would have loved it forever. I wasn't ready to chase a coaching career and moving around like I was as a player, and at that point having a wife and two kids, little kids in school. Um,
Mhm.
I loved every day of coaching, but we were underfunded and we were not affiliated, so everybody else in the league had an affiliation where they get 5 or 6 players from their AHL, NHL teams, and we had nothing. We were all my recruitment put together and
Mhm.
connections and stuff like that, and then everybody else operated with a salary cap of 10.5 for payroll, and I was operating on 8,500. So yeah, we weren't getting the best talent. I mean, we had some good talent, but we weren't rounded out. So I don't know. I did get offers to go coach in the Central Hockey League right after, but it just seemed more real to move here to Atlanta to a franchise that I knew was going to do well because they did so well in Mobile, and I liked both the GM and coach Jeff Pyle and Steve Chapman up here
Mhm.
in Gwinnett. That's why that and the recruiting part I'm not good at, obviously. Calling kids up that you don't know anything about other than their stats, and you're trying to talk them into coming to a place at that time would have been, Baton Rouge, trying to convince them how great that city was until they'd seen it. You can't sell. I couldn't. I couldn't sell hockey to a kid from New York or Chicago or Ontario or Saskatchewan on how much fun they'd have down in Baton Rouge. So that's part of why I didn't jump to any of those offers in the Central Hockey League when this opportunity came up to continue playing or go back to playing in Gwinnett was an easier decision for me. But yeah, no, I've thought of it. I look at it now. I see what guys are doing well and successful in their coaching careers. I've got friends that are still involved and made it up to the National Hockey League as assistant coaches and coaches, and I just didn't have the hunger to chase it. I didn't want to be packing my family around.
Right. That's completely understandable. And the last question I have is from Gina, and she wants to know whether it be beer league or pickup games or exhibition games, do you play hockey at all, or did you hang the skates up for good?
At this point, I would say the skates are hung up for good. I'm 53 now. I did skate on a men's league team up here in Georgia. After I stopped playing, I played like every Thursday night, and then every Thanksgiving they had a weekend tournament. We probably played 40 games a year. Do Nashville weekend
Mhm.
trips with the boys for some get out of town time and stuff like that. But yeah, I got hurt once, and I was afraid that it was going to affect my work. Not really hurt, but I got a twisted up type of thing, and went to work sore and thought, you know what? Some of the guys had left the team. It wasn't the same as it had been, and it wasn't the need that my body needed to just get out and skate and hang out with the guys and have a beer afterwards. So I probably have not pulled my skates down from the attic in 5 years. Yeah, I'm still trying to get involved, or still offering to help do some minor league coaching, not minor league, youth league coaching with some of the ex gladiators that are still around running the youth league. I'm going to get out there and skate with them this winter. But as far as playing again, no, that's that ship has sailed.
And did you say that your son had played club hockey there in that area as well?
No, my friend's son did. My friend's son
Oh, your
played
friend's son. I misunderstood.
for the Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah, at the university club level.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are you involved with them at all, or no?
Nope. No. Just went to the first couple games here last week. My son never took to the ice. He skated till he was about 6, and took off with the other sports. And I looked at the price of putting a kid on the ice at the minor league level, and I was like, okay, go have fun with baseball and football.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap anymore.
Right.
So let me just mention this too, or I guess ask you, what would you say to any player that will be heading to Baton Rouge next year when the new team starts?
Oh gosh, make the best of it. The culture, the people, the food, the good times, the beautiful young ladies, and go down there and rock that jersey and get that team a winning season, a winning experience, because anybody who follows football has seen what they've done with the LSU football team, the LSU baseball team, national champions. I mean, the fans love the game. The fans that go love the game, and the fans in Baton Rouge love a winner. So go be a part of both of it and make that team a winner and watch the results. And good luck to you and moving up to the next level. That's what you want to tell everybody at the single A, double A, triple A levels. Move up to the next level. So go down there and win. That's the fastest way to move up to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And enjoy yourself in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet, but I'm going to make my way down there this season, I think. There's going to be 3 neutral site games this season at the, what's it called? The Baton Rouge or Raising Cane's River Center. Raising Cane's River Center. So the FPHL is going to hold 3 neutral site games there just to see how everything goes. I'm not worried at all. I know that Barry Soskin said, if attendance is high, we'll put a team there permanently. They sold almost 5,000 tickets in the month of August. So I don't think they're going to have a problem.
For these neutral?
Yeah, for the neutral games.
And what teams are going to play those games? Have they said in the schedule yet?
So it's going to be Biloxi, Mississippi Sea Wolves out of Biloxi. They're going to play the Port Huron Prowlers. And then I think they play 2 games against the Prowlers. And then the third and final game is against the Carolina Thunderbirds out of Winston-Salem.
Oh wow! Okay, so a couple of the old ECHL teams, Winston-Salem team, right. Biloxi had a team for years. Wow, I'm gonna have to look at that schedule and see how it looks to my work schedule. I'd like to go down and see one of those games.
Yeah, we'd love to have a celebrity guest there, or who knows, maybe you'll lace them up one more time.
that's not on the cards, but I definitely would like to. I've never sat in the stands at the what is it, Raising Cane's Centralplex?
I always forget this. Raising Cane's River Center. That's what they call it.
River Center. Okay, yeah, all right, very cool. I'll have to look it up, or if you can send me a link to something, I'll see when the games are, and maybe my wife and I can make a trip down and see some old fans, familiar faces in the stands.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me check this out real quick. I believe December 8th is the first game. Yeah, December 8th, Port Huron Prowlers and Mississippi Sea Wolves. I always call them Biloxi, and I don't know why. I have to get it through my head. It's Mississippi. Regardless, I will go ahead and send you that link so you can see those games, and yeah, we'd love to have you down there.
And is there a team up around in your neck of the woods too at this level?
So I am right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So the closest team to me would be the Winston-Salem Thunderbirds.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm originally from upstate New York, a town called Watertown.
Okay.
And that's where I started in the FPHL, was with the Watertown Wolves.
And you played with them back when they just got going in the Federal League?
Nope, I actually didn't play. I was just a staff member at the time and just kind of fell in love with the game.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Well, I'll have to look into it.
I've since been married and had a kid, and we moved down south. So
I don't have much history. I'll have to look at the federal profession. Is it FPHL, Federal Professional? FPHL?
Yep, FPHL Federal Prospects.
Federal Prospects Hockey League. Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up and.
Yeah, but I will send you some information.
Okay, that'd be cool. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very in tune with research and computers, which is what the world is now. So yeah, no, I definitely have to do some research on how the league is formed and where it's gone through and where the franchises are currently located, and see if there's something. I ride a motorcycle for fun and weekends, so I'll just jump on it and scoot up and watch a game sometime and see how the game's going at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot to mention there's also a team in Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
I'm not sure how far away that is from you, but that's another option.
That's only an hour away. That's my friend was a big part of that. Jerome Bichard was a big part of that league or that team, that franchise. Coached it after he stopped playing, and then when they went to the Southern Professional League, I think he stayed on as a coach. But I don't know, is he involved with the federal?
He is currently still the head coach
Is he really?
of that team in the FP. He is.
All
Yep.
right. Well, then I will be hooking up with Bish and going down to a game at some point at that level. See.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely want to get you at a game, have you check it out, and see what we're all about here.
Sounds like a plan.
But we are out of time for now. I really do appreciate you coming on and talking to me. I can't wait to meet you in real life here instead of this Zoom call. But just a reminder for the Bench Minor Hockey followers, we actually have the head coach of the Binghamton Black Bears, Gary Gill. He will be on next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Apple Podcasts. And once again, thank you so much, Cam. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Sean. Thank you. Nice to meet you, and good luck with everything. And hopefully the league takes off and it gets a franchise in Baton Rouge that is successful and fans are enjoying it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.